slide
Computer
protector
guy.
guy. You know,
No, not IT. I'm good enough. Not quite there.
back in school, the teacher always used to let me do those slides.
Yeah, typically, if you see one of our videos put out on social media, I would put it in bed.
Oh, are you the one who knows the media of, like, when I say media, sport video?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm calling you.
And we had that FirstNet, so it's like the cops cell phone, so it should be pretty good, but hopefully it doesn't. This one here, if you can. The only thing that once upon a time was things kind of testing out a company called Nextel. Yeah, I remember Nextel. Okay. I was in Bow.
He's taking off these, I call them, these recorders are like unbelievably expensive.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
All of a sudden, we're
The
all around
problem
the
is the very through batteries not out on minutes. So I gotta sit there.
This guy called, hey, I'm at such and such line market, anybody on the line?
Saying the whole reason we came.
Yeah, I'm not sure who you're trying to reach. Yeah, I'm outside of
This is
Dustin.
like the first time I've only been in.
Truck driver. I said, oh, I'm excited to Turner Field Stadium in
So this
Atlanta.
is like the
It was like,
first
you
time
know,
we've been
I understand. So I don't know whatever happened why we didn't go for that, because it's a combination of, you know, it's another version. You had both sides, wavy and so. Crystal clear. There he is. How you doing? Good, man. How are you? Good, good. Good to see you. Good to see you. Likewise, man. Good to see you. How you been? How you been? Busy. Hey, how are y'all? Appreciate y'all coming. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you.
And Denise Dillon's a little delayed. She's gonna be sneaking in, so she might pop up behind them.
We can have that.
We're gonna lock the doors. She's muted.
Okay. Oh, she heard me say that?
Yeah.
I'm glad we go way back. Hopefully she won't hold it against me. Oh, goodness. Is everyone set up and ready to go? I'm going to let Captain Ayana brief y'all real quick on how this is going to go and what to expect with the video afterwards, and then I'll provide sound with the incident that occurred yesterday. You want to give them a heads up?
Good afternoon, everyone. We're all good to go? All right. So, first of all, thank you all for coming. We're here this afternoon to provide you all an update on an incident that occurred yesterday, began here in Brookhaven and culminated with the chase and crash in the city of Doraville. We're going to start off with a statement from Chief Gurley. We also have a video prepared for you all, drone footage of the incident that occurred here yesterday in Brookhaven, as well as some dash camera footage from the chase here in Brookhaven that was discontinued. Afterwards, we'll provide you all a copy of the video for your own use as well. Will be available for any B-roll of the drone, anything that you all would like. All right. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief Gurley.
All right, so for matter of record, again, my name is Brandon Gurley, B-R-A-N-D-O-N, Gurley, G-U-R-L-E-Y, Chief of Police for the City of Brookhaven. Yesterday, Tuesday, June the 3rd, at approximately 11:30 a.m., our agency was notified of a Nissan Rogue that had fled from Doraville Police and was traveling towards our city here in Brookhaven. Our officers were able to leverage our network of license plate readers to confirm that the vehicle was, in fact, in Brookhaven in the area of Northcliffe Valley Way. Officers requested the assistance of our drone first responder program, which launched, and a drone was dispatched and flew to the area of Northcliffe Valley Way. Within a minute of launching, the drone pilot was able to observe the suspect vehicle in an apartment complex in the 3100 block of Buford Highway. The drone pilot watched and observed as two suspects exited that vehicle and entered into a Hyundai passenger car, where the two suspects began to attempt to steal that vehicle. As officers on the ground were responding and converging on the area, they began to enter the complex, which prompted the two suspects at the Hyundai passenger car and re-enter the Nissan Rogue. The Nissan Rogue then began to flee out of the complex, and our officers initiated a pursuit of that vehicle. The chase went through Brookhaven and onto I-85 southbound towards the city of Atlanta, where we discontinued that pursuit. Shortly thereafter, after discontinuing the pursuit, we were notified that that suspect vehicle was in fact stolen in a shooting earlier that morning in unincorporated DeKalb County. Using the shared resources of our agency, including our regional network of license plate readers and video cameras, law enforcement agencies from across our area coordinated efforts to track the vehicle DeKalb County. At approximately 1:01 p.m., DeKalb PD briefly encountered the vehicle and initiated a pursuit. That pursuit ended shortly thereafter, and at approximately 1:22 p.m., our license plate readers alerted us that the vehicle was entering the city of Dunwoody on Ashford-Dunwoody Road. Dunwoody PD attempted a traffic stop, which led to a multi-jurisdictional pursuit involving Sandy Springs Police, Gwinnett Police, and Georgia State Patrol. The pursuit ended when the suspect vehicle crashed into a median wall on Peachtree Industrial Boulevard at I-285. Officers from multiple jurisdictions took off and identify the suspects for you at this time. One suspect was 17-year-old Octavio Alexander Luviano. He was charged with criminal attempt to commit felony theft of motor vehicle. The other two suspects were both 15 years of age. One 15-year-old male was charged with minor possession of a pistol, possession of a weapon during the commission of a crime, entering auto, theft by receiving stolen property, loitering or prowling. The other 15-year-old male suspect was charged with possession of a weapon during the commission of a felony, entering auto, theft by receiving stolen property, loitering or prowling, speeding, reckless driving, driving while unlicensed, disobedience of a traffic control device, and a signal required when turning. While we're proud of the collaboration and technology that allowed us to safely apprehend these suspects, this incident highlights a growing and concerning trend that we're faced with in Metro Atlanta and across the nation. The rise in serious crimes committed by juveniles to include vehicle theft, armed robberies, and shootings. Many times we're seeing young people that are involved in high-risk, dangerous criminal behavior. Too many times they're involving firearms. This is not just a law enforcement problem that we should be expected to address, but a larger societal crisis. And we should lean on our families, our schools, courts, community organizations, and our policymakers to come together to find a meaningful solution. Too many of our young people are endangering their futures and the lives of innocent people by making reckless and violent choices. We must all acknowledge the urgency of this issue and work together to find meaningful solutions that provide both accountability and support before more lives are lost or ruined. We've entered our summer months where school is out. We expect to see an increase in crime that is committed by and connected to juvenile offenders, and that's a concerning trend here in Brookhaven. We are working to address this problem through community outreach programs, but we are asking our community at large and other community partners to come together and help us with this problem to curb this growing trend of juvenile-related crime, specifically those involving guns. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to Captain Ayana. He's going to walk you through the video of the incident that occurred here in Brookhaven that led to the pursuit, the multi-jurisdictional pursuit, and then we'll take any questions.
Thank you, Chief. We'll go ahead and cue up the video. As the Chief indicated, the drone first responder launched after receiving the information from officers on the ground in the license plate network. Here in the video, you see the black Nissan Rogue is in the apartment complex in the 3100 block of Beaufort Highway. We see an individual in the driver's seat of the Hyundai parked to the left of it, and another individual in the driver's rear window and to the back seat of the car. Drone pilot begins to coordinate the response to the ground units. While observing this, we will see the windshield wipers on the vehicle activate, which is further evidence that the attempt was to steal the vehicle and not just commit a theft from the interior of that vehicle. As the officers are responding, you'll see the Nissan Rogue pulls and turns around and begins facing the same direction as the Hyundai. As it does so, officers are converging in the area. The individuals inside of the Hyundai will exit and re-enter the Nissan Rogue. There are still two occupants inside this vehicle at this time. You'll see there's a unmarked unit parked at the top of the apartment complex as they go to establish a perimeter. The two individuals are now exiting the vehicle they were attempting to steal, and they've now entered the road and are now fleeing the scene. And then from there, a pursuit commences. The vehicle travels down North Cliff Valley to Buford Highway, through Northeast Plaza Shopping Center, onto Briarwood Road to the access road, where it entered onto 85 South into Atlanta. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Gurley.
I'm going to let the video play. You're obviously going to be provided. You're going to be provided a raw file for your use in your stories that hopefully will not buffer as many times as this one is buffering that we're attempting to show you now. But while the video continues to play in the background, does anyone have any questions for clarity on what's been provided? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to ask. I've been doing this a long time, and I've never seen the coordination between multi-jurisdictional card readers and drones before. Can you comment on that and talk about maybe how it makes the streets safer, because you don't need to be doing high-speed pursuit through multiple jurisdictions. You've got card readers, you know where they are.
Sure. The good thing about the technology is it tells us where the vehicle's at. It does not always tell us who's in the vehicle. And in this example, this vehicle was a stolen vehicle. It had not yet been reported. It was freshly stolen, so it was not yet reported. We did not know at this time that this car was stolen. We just knew of its involvement running from Doraville Police, and it was shortly after we discontinued our pursuit that we learned that the Nissan was in fact stolen and just not in the system yet. So we do leverage technology. We're very fortunate here in how we utilize technology to provide better public safety to our communities, and our partners around us are leveraging the same technology. Our partners in Dunwoody, our partners in Chamblee, our partners with DeKalb Police, the list goes on. And we have come together to share the resources of those technologies so that we know what our partners around us are receiving through their law enforcement efforts using the same technology. When a stolen vehicle is going through Dunwoody or through Chamblee headed towards us, or a fugitive vehicle that's connected to a carjacking or an armed robbery, and it's in one of our surrounding jurisdictions headed towards Brookhaven, we know about it in advance because of this network of shared technology. Criminals do not know boundaries, so neither should police departments. We've always done a great job in communicating with one another and working together, but we've only been as good as the human factor allows us to be in our communications. This technology speeds up that communication, it speeds up that teamwork, it speeds up that partnership, and allows us to take immediate action on crimes like this rather than putting hours and days and weeks into investigative efforts to track a vehicle that may or may not ever lead to who was in the stolen vehicle at the time, leaving these suspects to continue their crime sprees in other stolen cars with new victims until someone is seriously injured or killed in that chain of events.
Chief,
Yes, sir, you next.
I want to get a perspective, because this is big. You've got all these jurisdictions, you've got all these miles. How many miles from start to finish were these guys on the run? How many counties did they go through? How many law enforcement jurisdictions were involved from start to finish? What were the top speeds?
So what I can tell you is that the agencies that I know were involved directly was Doraville with these suspects was Doraville Police, Chamblee Police was, to my understanding, did not encounter or engage the suspects, was involved in the tracking and attempt to locate. DeKalb PD, Brookhaven Police, Dunwoody Police, the Sandy Springs Police Department was involved in the pursuit, Gwinnett County Police, and ultimately Georgia State Patrol were all directly involved at one point or another as this vehicle fled through both DeKalb and Gwinnett counties, and at one point was in Fulton County inside the city of Atlanta as we were tracking it through our shared network of technology and cameras.
When you go and address these parents and say your 15-year-old has a gun, was in a stolen car, led us on a high-speed chase, along with a 17-year-old. What was their response in all of this?
All too many times, we as the family element are not taking ownership, we're not taking accountability for the actions of our young people the way that we should. We're relying on other organizations, and all too many times those organizations are the police department to raise our kids. And that is what I am urging and asking for help against, combating that narrative, and that we as a community, we as families, number one, take ownership and accountability of this growing problem, this growing trend, and we lean on other resources in our community for support when encountering troubled youth that don't want to listen to rules and do not want to answer to accountability. All too many times we're not getting the response that we should get, that we would like to get from parents taking ownership. We get met with a lot of excuses. One of the benefits to our technology is that there's no longer he said, she said, that my little Johnny or my little Susie would not have done what they're being accused of. We're able to provide resources that enables the parents to take a more definitive stance when trying to engage with their children about, I know that this took place, we have video that this took place, and attempting to address that on a higher level. But again, too many times we as a police department are being asked to intervene and get involved in these situations when in moments we should not be getting involved in.
So, 3 suspects, 215, 117, right?
215, 117,
So
correct.
they're all under 18. So
Correct.
this is a juvenile situation unless the 17 gets charged as an adult. Chief, I just want to stir the pot a little bit. You talk a lot about, and I've heard this many times before, and all law enforcement seems to be in agreement on this. There needs to be a collaborative approach to stopping the crime and to changing the hearts and minds of these kids. At the end of the day, is it time to start putting parents in jail for what their kids do? Is it time that there is a provision for that? Is it time to up the ante on that? It doesn't matter if the parent loses their job. Control your children.
There's absolutely a time and a place for that, and I believe that we are beyond a time and a place for that. And in fact, we're seeing cities and counties across the state and across the nation adopt local ordinances that do allow parents to be charged on a local level when children are out, say, violating curfew, when their children are involved in other crimes. We are seeing a growing trend of putting more accountability, criminal accountability, on the parents for the actions of their children. And that's one message that's important that many of our young people don't seem to understand, is that their actions are impacting more people than just themselves. It's impacting, it could impact their families. There's innocent lives on the road that's being put into jeopardy. And too many times our young people don't seem to see that bigger picture.
Chief, were they in a gang? Is this gang related at all?
I haven't heard that part of the investigation and determination, so I'm still waiting myself to identify if they've been connected to. What I can tell you is that they have been connected, or they are suspects in many other crimes spanning several jurisdictions over the past 3 to 4 days. Suspects in crimes that occurred here in Brookhaven over the last 3 or 4 days, and in jurisdictions around us. They were in possession of items of evidence that connect them, or at least identify them as being suspects in other crimes. So we're sorting through, not only here in Brookhaven, but with our partner agencies, to definitively link them to those additional crimes. And we do expect additional charges to be filed in the near future. To further and to clarify a question that you had, the 17-year-old under Georgia state law can and is being charged as an adult, which is why I identified the 17-year-old by name in my statement. The 2 juveniles are being charged in juvenile court as juveniles and being turned over to the juvenile justice system. So we won't be identifying them.
Maybe too early.
One second, real quick, because he had a question
What
next.
crimes specifically are they being connected back to? Can you tell us that?
I can't at this stage in the investigation, due to the fact that if they aren't connected or found not to be involved in those crimes, I would not have wanted to implicate them. But I can say that they are suspects in additional crimes, and we will identify those crimes as well as the charges if, in fact, evidence proves that they were involved in those. Did you have a question? I'm going to come back to you.
Denise, do we have a question?
Okay, I thought you were raising your hand. Go back to you.
We're reading each other's minds.
Is that what it is?
They ask a question,
Okay.
it's like, Yes.
While he's waiting to hear from her, I'll get your follow-up.
Yeah, I was going to ask more about the crimes that these guys were potentially involved in outside of that. Do you expect to clear a dramatic number? You were saying that these crimes occurred over the past several days. Do you expect, and do other jurisdictions expect to clear a lot of cases, whether it's robberies or burglaries or stolen cars or whatever it is, once you're able to finish this? I know that's a tough one to answer, but is this a major bust of individuals involved probably in a lot of crime that is really going to be noticed now that they're off the street?
The expectation, I will say that the expectation is that we will be able to close many cases linked to these suspects, both here in Brookhaven and in surrounding jurisdictions. I do not have any information that would suggest that their spree has lasted weeks or months. The most that the investigation is telling us at this point is that it's spanning over 3 or 4 days. Now, as the investigation continues, we may find out that it's longer than that, shorter than that, but that is up to the investigators to try to identify and determine.
Okay,
Denise.
Denise, I'm putting you on speaker. Go ahead. It's Chief.
Yeah, we had heard that some people who have said others have been injured during this pursuit when their cars were hit. Can you confirm any of that?
I will not officially confirm. I'll tell you what I understand. As again, we were not involved in the pursuit at the end. We were notified that the pursuit had ended and that they were in custody, and we sent our sergeant to the scene to collect information needed for our investigation that had happened moments prior, had begun moments prior. It is my understanding from those that were on the scene that there were no other injuries to other parties involved in any crash. But to be more definitive or specific, did they actually hit someone and there were no injuries? I'm not 100% on that. Captain Ayana, were you able to confirm that?
There may have been some minor injuries from some of the collisions that occurred in Dunwoody and Sandy Springs, but none here in Brookhaven, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So possibly some minor injuries, but no other serious injury, no serious injuries from anyone else involved.
Can you say, Chief, that all three of these either resided or operated out of Brookhaven?
Good question. I believe I failed to mention that. I had it on my notes for you. The 17-year-old resides in unincorporated DeKalb County. One of the 15-year-olds resides also in unincorporated DeKalb County, and the other juvenile resides in unincorporated Gwinnett County. I also believe, Captain Ayana, that the 17-year-old and the 15-year-old reside in the same complex,
Yes,
correct?
I mean, how frustrating is it to have to chase after these 15, 16, 17-year-olds in these violent crimes? I mean, how frustrating is it?
Part of the reason for the cry to the community for support and help with this growing trend and problem is because it is extremely frustrating to be involved in such a dangerous chain of events that endangers the lives of other people on the roads. It endangers the lives of the police officers that are involved in this activity to apprehend these fleeing suspects, that's shooting at people, that's stealing cars, that's committing crimes across our metro area and the state. There's too many people that is endangered by this behavior, and it is increasingly difficult to manage and to deal with. But the unique thing about it is that we are at a point, unfortunately, to where when these things kick off, it's almost expected that it's going to be a juvenile. And that's a dangerous place for us to be in as a society, as a community, when these types of dangerous incidents happen and we're no longer surprised that it's our youth that's involved in it.
Chief, I know for years there's been frustration in police all over Georgia about the way juveniles are handled, the point system that you catch and release. Would you like to see an overhaul of how we handle juveniles? Nobody wants to put away a juvenile for a long time if they're redeemable, but at the same time, they're just pop right back out on the street.
The main goal of the juvenile justice system is to rehabilitate, not to incarcerate juveniles. And studies have supported and have shown that too many times youth go into a detention setting and come out with more harm towards their criminal behavior than an attempt to correct that criminal behavior. So the juvenile system has over the years has turned toward an approach of rehabilitating outside of incarceration of our juveniles. The problem is that is also not working. Too many times we're apprehending juveniles for crimes against family members, domestic violence, committing domestic violence against parents, and because of a point system not allowing us to detain them, we're turning them right back over to their victims, to go right back into the home of the person that they assaulted because it wasn't enough points to detain them or to incarcerate them in a juvenile detention center. So although I can appreciate and respect what research tells us about rehabilitation versus incarcerating our youth, and we do want to see our youth grow up to be productive citizens of our communities, more has to be done. More effort has to be done because the rehabilitation measures that's currently in place aren't doing enough.
Thanks, Chief.
Any other questions? Thank you all very much for being here. I believe, how do you plan on getting them the video file?
We're gonna put it in the cloud, and deliver it that way to you.
The same email list that the invite was sent for this. If you need any direct, I'll tell you what, let's do this. We'll send it to that invite list, but we will also collect any email addresses now of anyone that wants to make sure you get the file directly to your email. And as soon as we get back upstairs, we'll make sure that happens. You want to get a list going?
I got a couple folks already.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you make sure? Yeah, the notes that he had right there too, do you have copies of those? You'll be able to send out as well?
We have a press release